Why, hello everybody. So, welcome to another review as read. Today we're gonna talk about a Dragonlance novel from the Villain series, Volume 5, Lord Toede by Jeff Grubb. So, again, we're going to go through the same process. I'll give you a synopsis of the book. We're going to go through some bads, some goods, and of course, then a conclusion. So, the synopsis of this is, of course, this is in the Villain series of the Dragonlance novels. I'm talking about several of the evil characters, or rather villains in the stories. I guess they don't have to be all bad. So, and basically, this is a story about each of them. And for this book, basically, the synopsis is basically there are two demons, and they want to find out about nobility. They see a situation and they want to find out what is it to be noble. Why is it all these good people want to be noble, even though they probably would suffer great physical pains? So they use the antithesis of what they feel is noble, which is basically Lord Toede, and through several experiments with him and his life and all, they try to find out what that is. What is nobility, basically? It's basically a moral story, strangely. So, now we go into some of the bads of it. The main bad for me is definitely, I'll give it away now. I like the book a lot. It's a fantastic book. And the main part is actually the cover art. I love the cover art. Alright, this is how I always picture Lord Toede. But actually how he is described is actually very different. This is actually how he's drawn, and how his another of his race is also described. So this is actually how I think he should be, but to me I just can't get away from this. So actually that's a minor thing, but this is my major complaint. Another thing that could lead some people off if they just open and flip through the book is this. Again, and you saw my last review on the crane from Legend of Five Rings. They could definitely have had a map that could help the story. This one is actually a bonus, so I guess you could also say it's a good thing. But the bad part is that if someone saw this, you would think that a lot of the story might happen here. Actually, the majority of the story happens away from this city. But I guess it's good for RPGs. Again, so it's maybe a good, maybe a bad, depending on you. And if you are expecting a traditional fantasy story, you won't get it here. This is definitely like if a traditional fantasy story was a serious movie, this is a dramedy, for sure. So again, as you can see, all the bads in this are really minor points. So let's all move on to the goods of it. The good things. Well, the good thing about the book is definitely the story. The story is about it's a moral story, and here's the best part: it actually makes you think. These when you finish and during the reading and after you read, it basically makes you ask the question: what is example nobility or morality? The example when the character, again no spoilers, when he does something good but he didn't mean it, does that count as a noble deed or a good deed? Or like example when someone helps him or saves his life because they think he's noble when actually all he was trying to do was run away, does that count? You know, and they get into a lot of these strange situations and moral conundrums. And again, every time you close this book, you're probably going to be start thinking about that, which I think makes you a better person. And I think that's what makes the crux of this story so fantastic. And another thing is great about it is, like when I did my review on the Sigma series, when it moves away from the main character, those books tend to get a bit laggy, because those characters are either not as developed or really truthfully not as interesting because they're side characters. But for this book, actually, for such a thin book, it is you want to know so much about all the rest. You want to know about Chakra, you want to know about Grog, you want to know about the Kender he lives with. You know, all they had this different view on how they view him doing this one deed, well, then they would context it with how he's actually thinking, which gives you a context of like, was the deed noble, which is fantastic. All right, and so yeah, another thing, of course, is the writing of Jeff Grubb. I must say, sometimes it's good to have a Tolkien style writing where it's so detailed, like which leaf on a flower on a plant is rotting or something like that. But Jeff Grubb, I really like what he did with this story is that he just got to the point. He concentrated on what's important. He sets the context, the setting, and then what Lord Toede is thinking and what the people around him are thinking. And so you're always concentrating on the main issue, which is the issue on that nobility and Lord Toady's character himself. By the end, you're totally invested. And of course, best part, it's a short read. It's not bogged down by a ton of backstory. So, yes, in conclusion, it is a fantastic book. Definitely one of the best books I ever read in my life. A total surprise, considering that as fantasy novels go, you look at this, you don't really tend to think so. I like playing underpowered characters in RPGs or whatever. So that's why my brother picked this up, and maybe that's why I'm so attracted by this book. So, till next word, and enjoy.